All right, outside the lines, back with my esteemed guest, and I will let him introduce himself. Here we are. The floor is yours, my friend.
What's going on, family? So my name is Patrick Murdy. Um, I live in New York City. I'm like a TikTok creator, kind of, and then uh, my day job is like project manager, setting things up at tech companies like the big ones. But really, like what I'm trying to do is just like help people get jobs right now or like upskill. So that's sort of like my content niche is like upskilling, right?
Awesome. So, a little bit of background. Did you go to college? Did you go the boot camp route? What's your kind of thing? How did you break into tech, as some would say?
So I went to university. I went to St. John's University in Jamaica, Queens, and
Ah,
I was a transfer though. So like I went to community for like a semester and then transferred over. And but beyond that, no boot camps. My major was finance, and then what I did was just like all certifications, like upskilling, like to just be able to get into the jobs that I'm in today was like nothing matched, man. Like
so how
nothing.
did you go from typical finance bro in college to like seeking out certifications and like wanting to work in tech? Like, how did you make that transition in your career there?
See, this is such a funny story. So like I was in real estate. So like I was like building office space for tech companies and I got my job from
Oh man.
a
Okay.
fraternity brother, right? Because I majored in finance. So I was thinking, okay, I'm going to be an analyst or something. That's like an easy, like 70, 80K or something, like right out of college. Hell
Yeah,
yeah.
of course.
So then I'm applying all these jobs and I'm not getting them. And I'm like, man, like, so I had to call the fraternity brother to help me out. But he was doing something in the Bay Area, building office space for like tech companies like Salesforce, Twitch, all of them,
Oracle, yeah, the big boys up there.
Oracle, exactly. And so I went there and I was like, that was the start of my project career. So I was doing all of this stuff to these construction projects together. Um, it was like some of the sexiest office spaces, man. Like the way I was working in the scene, right? I saw how nice the office spaces were. So I was like, man, like my office isn't that nice. And so then this recruiter reached out to me, and this was around the time Facebook had the data leak, so they had so many people. They were hiring so many people to get into their like global security programs to help fix like some of those like issues, right?
Yeah.
And so I was one of those. I was one of those team members, and um, the way I got the job was uh, the recruiter called me because she thought my resume was a tech resume, but it was a construction resume because it said all of the names like Salesforce, Twitch, whatever. And so she thought it was like she thought I was a techie, but I was just like a real estate like construction person. So she was like, I'm not going to submit your resume unless you have certifications at least because you majored in finance. Nothing makes sense. I
That's
went,
not adding up here.
yeah, it's like, so I went and got a bunch of certifications in like global security, sort of operationalizing like programs and like Scrum. Like that's sort of where I got a lot of
Yeah.
skills. These like certifications, put them on the resume, got the interview. The lady liked me, and then that's how I got the job. That's how I got into tech. Was that? That was the story, man.
That's so funny. Did she give you a list of certifications that you needed to look for, or did you just kind of go out and search like something that pertains to the job description?
Good question. So what I did was um, I looked up all the keywords that are on the preferred qualifications,
Bro.
and I just like made sure I got certifications related to the keywords because it's like if you have exactly what they're looking for or at least do some research on like what they're looking for, that's more than the person that like didn't do that. You know what I mean? So like it's sort of the easiest way to get like more points for your resume. And that's like the number one play right now.
That is
That's
such
my
free
number.
game, dude. Like no one knows about that. That's so big.
Yeah, and like some of it's free or what, some 29.99 a month, like whatever.
Yeah, it's just
Like
straight from Google. A lot of the certs you can get there, or I don't know where you got a lot of yours from, but there's Google. I know I think Scrum Alliance is another website you can get a lot of that from. Like there's so many where you can get free or very cheap certifications from.
I've got a couple videos on that, and LinkedIn, Udemy, Coursera, all three of them are just like knock out of the park. That's where a lot of free education's going on. I think, you know what? I think General Assembly, this is some new info. So General Assembly, they actually signed a deal with, I think it was like Google to like help build a curriculum to like upskill workers for like free or like super cheap. Like Google would create
Dang.
jobs, like open up jobs, um, and then General Assembly or I'm told, I think I'm screwing up the name, but it's probably General Assembly.
Yeah.
They would make the curriculum that you could take if you don't have like any college degree, and you could just like you're getting trained to literally get the job
At Google.
at Google just
Like
for free. And you know what I mean? Like laundry on campus, like you got to do that.
that is so crazy. That's just like again, people. This is why I really wanted to have you on because you have all these secret gems that it's not even that they're secrets, but people aren't taking the time to look at that stuff, or they're not using social media to the ways that they probably should. Where there's people like you putting out their free content on how to change people's lives, and it's all for free on TikTok, and people are too busy watching people dance on TikTok.
Focus up, right? Focus up, people.
So on that note, what are you currently working on? And then we can kind of jump into how you decided to get in that direction or like where you're at now.
Yeah, for sure. What I'm working on right now is so in I'm first gonna talk about like what it's like being a project manager first, and like what the setup looks like.
Oh
Uh,
yeah, yeah.
and so I think this is important because when you're a PM, the deals that you're getting, right? You might start at like 65K, right? For like a small scope project, you've got a manager, you know what I mean? 65K to like 85K, right? If you got a good deal, you negotiate a good deal at a good company. Now these deals are like not really priced well because recruiters take most of the deals, because if you get a contracting role, you'll be going through a third party company. So the thing here is like what you want to do is like set up like an LLC or like a corporation as soon as you can, because then you could sign corp to corp deals, um, where you could then pay into the corporation, and then like you could then pay yourself a minimum wage,
Yeah.
but you could then qualify for like tax deductions and like all of the tax benefits of like owning your own business.
Tons of
Uh,
write-offs. How did you go about like getting into that on a contract basis? Because I know a lot of people when they're first coming out of college and whatnot, they're looking for just a normal salaried job. How did you take advantage of the contract signings or the contract basis of this all?
I'm gonna be honest with you, man. Like I was always talking to my girl about, like I was always complaining about working the 9 to 5, like sitting at the desk, like, and hey, I'm not knocking the 9 to 5. Like I do it right now. If anything, I'm more into my 9 to 5s than ever. I have so many computer screens in front of me right now. It's insane. Like, um, but the thing is, it's like you got to take the steps to like set yourself up out of the sequence of things. You know what I mean? So I started getting into it right after grad, like looking into what type of business would I want to set up, or like how would I even set up a business. But it did take some years. Like it took like maybe like 4 or 5 years, like to really figure out how I could like, all right, I could set the corp up and like start negotiating deals through third parties. So like because the role comes from, and I'm about to answer right now your question about how do you go about this with third party
Yeah.
companies. So like the job rec goes from the client, like let's say Google or Samsung, right? And then it will go to the third party recruitment company. And so that recruitment company will do the brokering between you and the client. And then that third party, they're able to set either corp to corp or W-2 type setups because they're the ones sort of with the rec. They could determine those things. Google doesn't really care.
Oh.
Um, Google doesn't really care about that. There's parameters that they have set, right, for what type of contractual obligation they have, but they're contracted through the third. This is a contract through the third party, and then you could come up with any deal you want with the third party just to get on that, just to get on that rec, right? So get
Dang.
in that role. So when you start thinking like that, like, oh, this is anything's up for grabs. The first number that you get, you're not gonna want to say yes to because like they're really taking a lot off the table. Like you're able to negotiate then like better benefits or like it's not as good as like a full time where like full time it's like you're getting the best of it all plus financial advisors plus like everything. But if you haven't decided on like what team you want to get it, you know, what team you want to work at long term or um team you want to work at long term and like what you want to do long term, then maybe it's
Yeah.
better to just like do the contract thing, move around, figure out, oh, actually, like marketing instead of global security, it's too nerdy over there. Marketing's way cooler. Like you have this chance to be able to, the freedom to do it with contracts, you know?
That's so interesting. I never would have even begin to like think about that in terms of like negotiating all of that stuff too. That's insane.
So, what type of deal do you have? Like, tell me about like where you're working at right now and just sort of like what's that setup like? I want to hear a little bit about you, man.
Yeah, so the way that I guess my contract works, it's a normal kind of W2, just normal W2 contract with the company. So I work directly for a software development company that's based out of DC, and we have a contract basis with a bunch of different like DoD programs. So I'm
Right.
involved with a ton of marketing that's either internal facing or facing towards software factories within individual branches of the military. So it's
Oh, that's
super
so cool.
super like off the books and like interesting to me because my dad was a longtime Marine for like 20 years and now he transitioned out of the Marine. So I felt like, I should go back and do my best to help serve the country the best I can. And this is where I found my need to do that at.
I had no idea I was talking to Captain America on this podcast right now. Well, honestly, man, like that is such a cool like thing that you're doing. Like, what a scene, huh? Like,
It's awesome. Yeah, man. One of the projects we work on is directly catered to, we work actually directly with Google and we work with the Grow with Google certificates and we enable outgoing airmen, Marines, everyone like that. So they get their jobs in like UX design, project management, all that stuff. So
nice.
directly tied to what you're doing over at Google.
Yeah, it's sort of like the same mission. Like, yours is just like formal. Mine's like super like informal. I'm not even sure what's NDA. Actually, I can't believe I just said that. I obviously know what I'm allowed to say, right? Like,
It's a weird line between like it's different wording, I guess. Like I sign contracts with like different levels of security that I can really like talk about, like top secret status or like higher things like that. And then there's some people like yourself who talk about like NDAs and whatnot. So like every industry has something different with like disclosure agreements.
yeah, right. All those terms and conditions that you
We'll just throw the key out on that one. I can't talk about that.
sure, 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 sure.
So when did you start posting content, and like how did you land on the type of content you wanted to post?
Good questions. I started posting content like maybe like 2 years ago. Actually, if you want a story, I could give you a story right now. This is like, so I started
This
posting.
is what we're here for, man. We
I
love
was
this story time.
I was I was posting on YouTube, right, years ago. Like I was a like a child on I was a child posting on YouTube. They had no terms and conditions pretty much. They had no community guidelines pretty much. Like it was not sophisticated. It was like built with like a piece of paper and a marker. That was like the first version of YouTube. And so I was like putting sneaker videos up. I was having videos because one of my friends, family friends, is a DJ, St. John. This is a shout out, St. John on 99.7 in the Bay Area. Everyone knows that station. He's like the man on there, right? So he's got crazy sneakers, like a garage full of sneakers, rare sneakers, a whole like 2 bedrooms full of shoes. Like
Damn.
um, he's got it. He's got everything you could think of, like the oldest versions of all of these retro Jordans that you could ever think of. Um, and I was like taking the sneakers. I was going to his house because we were family friends, like hanging out at the crib, like go get the sneaker. I'm taking a video, of these, like showing everybody these on, you know what I mean, like on YouTube.
Just
Uh,
flexing his collection, and they know this kid's uploading. Like, damn, look at this 11-year-old kid. He's got like the most insane Jordan collection ever.
no, I was reviewing them, so like talking about the materials, like, ooh, look at
Oh,
this suede. This is a high quality Air Jordan. Like, it's such a nerd. The only reason I stopped was because all the J's were so much money, right? They're like,
yeah.
how's this kid getting access to all these J's to be able to make these videos? And so they were just roasting me for being Indian, like, hey, how many shifts did you pull at 7-Eleven for those CMED fours? And because it was before community guidelines, I was thinking everyone's gonna be like, damn man, like those J's are fire, like, but nah, like
It's
I got
that.
so sick. So I just took it all down, man, and just deleted being a content creator up until like quarantine happened, and I was like just sitting at home on the computer, and I was like, this is it. You know what I mean? Like just the computer, like let me have some fun. And so
Yeah.
I started making videos about like anything and everything. First it was like the GameStop stuff, like the meme stocks. And then it was like about New York City. And now we ended up in project management as like the niche, which is like such a specific niche, you
Yeah.
know? You really just got to try stuff. Like, just try anything. Like, literally just make a vid, just make sure you get the hashtags good and just get it off because, like, you never know, like, where the algorithm will take the video to what people will see it and, to how many followers you'll get. Like, such a scene.
So are you like a big believer in I I guess like niching down or like sticking to one form of content on a platform, or how do you decide like what videos to post?
It's a good question. It's like you got to think tactically for me. At first, I was just like, oh, I'll just throw it all out there, whatever. But people come to the page and they're like, man, what is he posting? Like, look at all of these random videos. He's just going through camera roll. You know what I mean? Like, he's not even doing it with no plan. So why would I follow him? You know what I mean? So um, I started to learn like, oh, maybe if I just focus on something for like a couple weeks and try it out, let's see how people would like it. And around that time was when the GameStop thing was going on. So
Oh
being able to
man.
cover that in like real time, like, oh, this just happened on the Reddit. Oh, this is what they just posted. Like, this is what's going on. Like, people loved it, and then like the videos just took off.
You also had a unique perspective too. Like you're living in New York City, where that's like the financial hub of the world, and people are like, "Look at this guy in New York talking about GameStop." Like your content was set to pop off. Whether you thought about it like that or not, it just sounds like the overarching theme of the content was like ready to pop.
That's interesting that you say that. I didn't even really think about it like that. Like, I was really thinking about it like, look at what's going on right now. This is like my perspective was this. It was, man, these little people really are trying to pick a fight with these hedge funds. Like, it was an insane narrative that we've been wanting to see like for years. This is what everyone wants to see. And so being able to cover that myself, a bunch of creators actually got started from doing that. Like
Yeah,
my he's got like maybe about 20K, and he like heavily was posting about the same thing. Now he posts like finance stuff, um, and then and then he's now on India Talk, like India Talk. All the Indians are on his page. It's hella funny, like how he chose his niche, you know,
that's so funny.
talking about the family.
That's funny you say that too. Like that's how I kind of like the podcast grew a lot for me because one of the guys that I regularly do the show with, shout out Jamie Bell, we posted an episode and it was just called like the retail trader fights back. And that was like one of our most downloaded episodes ever and like most watched on all platforms and everything. So kind of like that where that content creation side really took off for a smaller creator like myself too. So it's not just like you or anyone else. It's like everyone was popping off right there.
Yeah, like it's kind of fascinating seeing like the waves of influencers, like myself, Colin, right, who's
Yeah.
on the pod before. Like we're all sort of a part of the same class. Like you, for example, all part of the same class where like our followers are pretty much the same people. Like you see the same comments, not same comments, but from the same people on like other people's videos, which is like really fascinating because we're talking to the same audience.
Yeah.
Almost like we're in a classroom and there's like a couple teachers, you know what I mean, talking in the class. Like it's such a fascinating concept. But yeah, paying attention, like it's been like a fun ride. It's been a fun ride growing with other creators for sure.
And that's
Uh,
the thing. Do you look at yourself as like an influencer or when did that kind of hit? Like, when did it hit you that you were someone that people look at in their daily life for content?
um, that's fascinating. Like I think I saw myself as like an influencer once like some of the videos started to go up a little bit more and people started asking questions like how could I do that? Like how could I do this? Like I need help with this. And like just seeing all of the the comments like at first was so intimidating, right? But then you start to realize like these people like really kind of like need you. They need honest answers. They need like information to be able to guide their own lives. And like I'm grateful that the topics that I'm talking about aren't like BS. Like they help people upskill and get their jobs. So like for me, I started to realize it once the comments started to come in. That's when I started to really take it seriously.
And that's one of the things like I made kind of a similar like meme topic um of like there was a sound that went viral on TikTok. It was the Material Girl sound. I don't know if you're familiar with that one, but it was I posted that and then I listed a bunch of other things that my fiance buys, and then I said I work at my tech job to support my fiance spending habits and things like that. And it just popped off. And it wasn't like negative comments or anything like that. It was comments of like, how did you do this? Like, what did you take to get better at marketing? Or like, what did you do to become a product manager? Like, there was always so many different comments like that, just asking for help. So like, that's when I really found out like people like you are needed in this community.
It's kind of fun too. Like I'm not even about to make it seem like, oh, I'm like such a necessary environment. It's like if you can help out, if you can help people out, like you should be doing that.
Yeah.
That's sort of like what my mom sort of like put me up as, like, if people need help, like, and you got the info, just give them the game.
And
Yeah,
that's like why I'm on the side of like that's why I think that you are an essential part of like this quote unquote like influencer community, because there's so many fake guru people out there that are just like charging, like you said, for their $300 drop shipping courses out there that aren't going to really help people. So like I think you being transparent with your platform is what's really amazing. Like your mom said, like help people if you have the knowledge.
that's facts. That's facts. What's interesting about what you just said right now about ecom, I kind of do appreciate a lot of people putting up courses and arguably, like, and so I'm not about to say I'm coming out of the course, because I'm not. Like, I am saying this though, which is a lot of people, institutions, all right, bigger answer, right? Institutions, they rarely change their curriculum. They go through curriculum evaluations like on a quarterly basis, probably annually basis. But rarely does the curriculum change, and it kind of depends on like the teacher also to stay in those confines of like what's given to them, right?
Yeah.
From like the district. And so with that in mind, it's like there's a lot of programs that, for example, in rich communities, because they have more funding, they're able to buy that information, integrate it into their setups, right? And then re-educate their teachers. Whereas like in poor communities, it's like you can't invest in new curriculum sometimes. And so it's kind of key for like someone that has worked maybe at like a Netflix or something, talk in product, right? And worked in marketing on like a big scale, or even like how to set up like a program or negotiate something, like being
Yeah.
able to jump into any of these communities, buy some info that's specific and necessary steps that you could take to like do the same thing, like that is super valuable. And like you're going to see more platforms like LinkedIn, all of those schools are going to be partnering with these programs to do online courses, right? Signed by
Yeah.
Harvard, signed by like Cal State, whatever. But that's what they're doing, and like it's that's going to be the move, is like these like individual courses from everybody, you know?
It's the war of information, man. Whoever has it, and is always, like you said, upskilling and doing better in society.
Facts, facts.
So, what are your current? I've heard a lot about your normal career and 9 to 5 and things like that. What are you passionate about outside of work and things like that? You were mentioning that you went to a crypto event or real estate event that where you met with Colin the other day. So, what was is that something you're super passionate about? I know on your LinkedIn it says it's crypto, blockchain, and real estate. So I'm
And
assuming those are a few things.
such a nerd, I know. I put in the LinkedIn bio, or the LinkedIn like caption, but yeah, like I'm interested in, so something about me is like I'm interested in everything new, like NFTs, blockchain, crypto, anything that's thought provoking. Like I love all of those topics. So yeah, hitting the event, running into Colin. I didn't even know he was gonna be there. And like literally pulled up. I was like, I've been living in New York City, but not going to events. I've just sort of been going to restaurants, getting fat. Like,
Hitting the bar scene here and
I
there.
kind of need to like scene, like, let me learn something. So I found this like chain link event, and it was like pretty interesting. They had a couple panelists from there, from like other small cap coins that are sort of like looking to grow. And so I walk in and Colin, mad professional,
Yeah,
talking to people. So I like
yeah,
pulled up
man.
on him. I was like, bro, what's going on? He was like, whoa, it's like TikTok, but in real life. It was such a funny interaction. But yeah, like kicking it with him was like pretty fun.
That's so crazy. So how did you get into the whole crypto scene? I know you have the real estate background with that, but how did you get into the whole crypto and blockchain scene?
Crypto, I got into the scene in 2017 when, you
Okay.
know, Ethereum, Bitcoin, like you were seeing some headlines that it a lot of coins hit crazy peaks around that time. So that's when I started really paying attention and like, but I wasn't really making anything around that time. Like that was fresh out of college. Um, and so I couldn't even go as far as I wanted to with my plays, right?
Oh,
And so over the years, though, I've been accumulating and like paying more attention and educating myself, and like, man, that's the scene right there. Like, it's changing so many things, and it's useful. Yeah, I'm a heavy proponent of like crypto, Bitcoin, especially NFTs. Yeah,
that's crazy. Do you have, it's all the next question will like wrap those two together. Like what are your plans for the future of like your content, and then do NFTs and crypto fall into that plan?
good question. I'm about to start. I've got a couple series that I'm about to drop related to New York City. I feel like I've really hammered in this project management like bro, I've like really reached like the entire project management island, right? Like this is as far as it goes with project management. So I'm switching it up. Like I really want to focus on like, all right, you move to a new spot, right? How do you integrate yourself, right? Especially in a place like New York City. There's hella young kids that hit me about this. How do you get set up? How do you have fun? How do you make friends? How do you get to these parties? Like you want to be in the scene, you want to get the best out of this environment. Like I'm about to be posting the series on living in New York City soon.
That's so cool. And it's, I actually saw one of your recent videos about that, of like so many people would really benefit from that. And it's crazy to me that people are having to, I guess, find that new experience. Like making friends as an adult is so weird. And I feel weird calling myself an adult. Like I'm only 27 and I still feel young as ever. Like still not even hitting my prime. But when you talk about like making friends and you're like, no, that's so scary. I can't go talk to that person.
That's so funny, man. It's so funny that you say that because that's legit true. Like, that's so true. Everyone's so used to like making friends in school. It's like what you get in the real world, and the difficulty level increases, I
Yeah.
guess.
Like I always had friends like in through college. It was like either through sports or like you said, like going out doing the whole fraternity thing or like drinking, whatever. Like you always had built-in friends. But like when you become an adult, it's like, dang, my coworkers aren't that cool. And like they're old and have kids. So
Yeah, right. Like, how do you meet people? And if you're not using social, then how are you meeting people? And how don't even say, oh, I don't want people in my business. Like, you're not Snowden.
yeah.
Like, post something, use the sites. Like, don't be so Hollywood about it, right? Like, and so yeah, I meet people on. Let me tell you this. This is fire. There are these food blogger friends, the Sweet Life of Lena on Instagram, and she's posts like some of the best food spots in New York City, the best content, right? And she's got good style. So DM, right? We start talking about something that we relate to or whatever, and then friends. You know what I mean? So now I'm friends
Yeah.
with this like food blogger because we both related on she was in a long distance relationship, so was I with like my girl. And so now I go to food events with her in New York City. And what that goes to show is, and also I'm a nobody. So it's like, you know what I mean? Like, um, anybody could like make friends with everybody. And you don't need to be mega popular. You just need to like really like somebody or like how they're moving and like compliment them and like shout them out and like do cool shit to like make them feel good.
Exactly. Like go outside. I mean, the biggest thing that I'll say on that topic of like you, I'm sure the series is gonna be bomb and things like that, but it's being interested in other people like gets you or gets their attention. So like if you want to make friends with someone, just be interested in their life and they'll probably reciprocate the same energy to you, you know? Or they don't like you at all. That's not the cup of tea for everyone.
Exactly, but that's for you to uncover, and that's the
Yeah.
one part of life is like you never know what you're gonna get. And I try to stay extremely positive, especially with the content thing, because if you like get in a mental rut, then sometimes getting content out really does get stuck. You never end up posting the thing because you like feel low self-esteem, and like you gotta watch your mind like while you're interacting with everyone, because like you never want to compare yourself, but you always want to like add value to every situation. So like be careful, like be gentle, you know what I mean? Like that's
100%.
how I'm like feeling about it.
And there's like you went through the comments of like some hate comments back in the day, so like you know how it feels with that. But like to anyone, I guess I'll drop some knowledge on to anyone who's like wanting to get into content and things like that. There's gonna be those people, but they'll get outweighed by people who are way more helpful and positive, as I'm sure you can attest to.
Oh yeah, now it's like I put me on Brown Boy Talk or India Talk, whatever. Like that's what I was getting clowned over, was like who I am. It's like I can't even switch that up, and you're just clowning on me because like these Jays are like the hottest things you've ever seen. You know what I mean? Like
Bro,
I'm
that's so
not.
crazy that people were trying to clown you like that. Like one of my favorite, I guess, like influencers now is like he's Indian. I don't know if you it's he was on a podcast called My First Million, Sean Purry on Twitter. Shout out to him, but he's a famous like investor and like crypto guy now too, and he's this big Indian dad and he's just hilarious. Like his content is phenomenal. I don't know why
Nice.
anyone would make fun of people who for just being who they are.
But it's I don't take it too serious. Like, I'm one to make like offensive jokes sometimes. Like I've got like a dry sense of humor. I love Seinfeld, love Curb Your Enthusiasm. Like it's all about being like as offensive as you can be, but in like an educated way.
Yeah.
Um, that's what that humor is. And so for me, I take the comments, but I also address them. Like I love responding. I love how they added that respond
Bro,
feature
that is the
on
best.
TikTok. I'll be responding to people, man. Like, hey, man, you don't have any profile picture, like, but you're talking about this. Like, call them out. Like, I love the scene that we're in right now because we get to be more interactive. Like,
Yeah.
I do not shy away from interaction. I jump towards it.
This is I had this discussion with my one of my buddies the other day. Like, how old are you actually?
27.
Yeah, so same age. And then like you also grew up playing video games too. Like I don't know if you played Modern Warfare 2. Like you understood what those lobbies were all about. Like people were calling everyone horrible names. So I grew up with thick skin. I know what it's all about now.
And anti-Semitism was
Yeah,
in
yeah.
the air.
The whole
Like
thing. Like
the worst things. Like, and to be honest with you, I'm not trying to get canceled right now, but I'm going to say that I thought it was so much fun. Like
yeah,
hearing the freedom of speech, being able to say shit or say things to people, like call them out. Like, I think that's so fun. But I do think though bullying is real, and like you never want to push somebody. So like there should be community guidelines
yeah.
though. Yeah.
So you're not gonna be on Elon Musk's side here of freeing up Twitter, is what I'm hearing you say.
Oh, so see, that's something else. Like, I agree with that play. I totally do. Like being someone that's worked at those companies, like I'm not even gonna say too much. Just I totally affirm that move. Like it's all about being more free than controlling narratives.
This is I could dive into such a longer conversation with this, but I will leave you with a few things. The It's called outside the lines for a reason. There's outside the lines of business. So what are you do you have any other hobbies like sports do you play? Like are you big in working out? What's your kind of thing? Are you a gamer? What's your deal?
Definitely. I'm a huge basketball guy,
Okay.
and I'm looking at the Lakers, and I'm like, man, there's so much firepower, and you're almost thinking to yourself, is there too much firepower? Like, you're a little, like, I want everyone to win, but I just don't feel like they're gonna figure it out, the Lakers. Like, and that's such a pessimistic view. I hope to be wrong. I hope to be wrong because I want Braun to get more rings than Jordan. I want that.
Oh man,
I want that.
cancel the interview. This I wish I would have known that before, man. Those are fighting words.
I want Braun to just change it up, man. Switch it up. Make everyone mad.
We could probably have some great debates over some drinks, man. That'd be awesome. So you're probably loving the. I don't know if you've been hit with it on TikTok. I don't know how much content you consume on TikTok, but there's I don't know what gym it is, but it's in Chicago and it overlooks that skyline, and it is such a beautiful scene there.
I think I just saw this like maybe yesterday. It's got the like modern sort of light fixtures. They're sort of like make it like a maze out of,
Yeah,
and it's like sky view, right? Skybox.
it's so crazy, man.
So fire.
I don't play basketball much anymore, but if I were trying to get back into the gym, that would be the place to do it.
There is this funny story that I have. I when I was working at Google, they have basketball courts there in Sunnyvale, like right near Moffett Park.
Yeah.
So like there's this like other senior program manager. Me and him got so close. He was just like such a cool guy. He was like a someone to look up to just sort of like guide your experience at Google. It was like my first time working there. And so I kind of like looked to him for like a lot of advice. And so we played ball on the court one day. I finally brought my shoes, right, to play with him. And he's like 40 something, like with kids, right? And he scraped me. Like I was just huffing and puffing. Like I haven't played ball in so long. Like when I saw my performance, I'm shooting up like completely missing.
Yeah.
Like and he's just draining things like super aggressive, get to the rim. Like I was like, I need to get to the gym more. Like I can't be this bad.
Getting smoked by 40-year-olds. That's like there's a similar buddy of mine now. Like goes back to like the power of social media and us just like reaching out, things like that. Met a guy, he's older and he lives in Austin now, and he was an original investor in Deep Eddy, the vodka company.
Whoa.
And he is the same way. Like he's 40 something, 50 years old now, and he just will be at the gym every single day, like crossing kids. And he's like, yeah, when you're out in Austin, like we got to get in the gym together. And I'm like, I'm not about to get put on a poster board by some 50-year-old man. It's not happening.
You already know that's why he's asking you. He's like, I've been working for this moment
Yeah.
to like really get this body right now. I know for a fact he wanted to he was like hustling me because I'm talking about this guy that I was playing ball with at Google.
Yeah.
He was hustling me because he was totally understating how like physically fit he was. Yeah, man, I'm just behind this desk. I'm not I'm not playing.
Yeah. I don't have time
Come
for
on,
that.
Derek. Like you're playing. Like let's get on the court. And then he's got his muscle t-shirt on, his muscles. I'm like, you're kidding. Like you actually are. You've been working for this. I have not. I have not been working for basketball recently. But that's how it was, man.
That's so funny, dude. What's the out because you do a ton of things right now, like you said, content creating, full-time job. What's the guilty pleasure in your life? Do you have a favorite show that you watch? Are you binge watching football on a Sunday? What's your thing?
That's interesting. For me, I'm just so hyped up on these things right now. So, like, like for example, like I told you that story about food bloggers in New York City. For me,
Yeah.
I love sort of being in the scene. So like I've got a couple friends that like they manage some of the steakhouses in New York. Some of them like one of my friends an owner of like 212 Steakhouse. So like I love food experiences. I'm going to all of these restaurants. I'm in the scene like whatever the latest thing is, like I gotta experience it. And that's like my guilty pleasure is like food is
See,
food.
this is this is turning out to be good. I need to make a.
It's
When
not
we get
it's
off
not
here, I'm
good.
gonna.
It's not good because I have a sweet tooth and I eat dessert at all of these places. And this dental bill, man, like, oh my God. Like, I have to be full time to get that
Yeah,
insurance,
yeah.
Like, man.
This is. I'm gonna once we get off here, I'm gonna go book a flight this summer. I'm gonna come out there and start eating right like you. This is good news.
The scene's here, man. The scene's here. Let me know whenever you're here, bro. It's a little bit.
That's so funny, man. So how did you? That's. I have so many other questions about like the food scene. Like, what? How did you even get wrapped up in that? That's crazy.
So I'm gonna talk a little bit about this, like in this, like the new series, but essentially,
Oh,
you
we can
know,
cap it. We'll cap it. Go ahead.
to
New.
come into New York, it's like, how do you integrate yourself? Like, you sort of want to figure out what are the hot spots, like where are your friends at, who are the people that are like you, or the scene that you want to be in. And it's like for me, like I always wanted to be in the scene, like where the deals are getting made, or like where the funds being had, like and it doesn't need to be expensive. It just needs to be like fun, or like
Yeah.
exciting, with like cool people. And so the segment's going to go into like telling people to talk to the waiters, figure out who the doormen are, figure out who the manager is, and send them emails like, "Hey, I was just there. The dish was amazing," or like, "This staff people were fire." Like, then you start building reputations with these people, and then you get on the VIP list at these places because they
Yeah.
want you there because you really value the experience. And so over the years, like we're on the VIP list now. We got the emails for some of these places, and like super grateful to be able to have a table whenever you want, which is like the ultimate power. Like, that's like one of the infinity stones in New York City is like you need to be able to like get a table anywhere in case you have a date, for example. I have a girl, but I have a fiance.
Yeah.
We've been engaged for a little bit, but still when she's in a bad mood, she's glitching out. I need to have a table for her somewhere. You know what I
Yo,
mean? Like,
we'll go down to the spot. Like a
you
table's ready
you
for
gotta
us.
have a spot, a go-to spot. And that's what it's like when you watch those shows, Wizards of Waverly Place. All of these show iCarly, all these shows are taking place in a prime location. Seinfeld, the diner.
Yeah.
Right? What's your environment that you're gonna have those conversations?
That's so crazy. I love it. That's like I can't wait for this series, man. It's gonna be so good to like keep up with all this new content you're putting out.
I think I'm hyping it up too much, but it's going to be just the same type of info that I'm giving out for project management, but I'm hopefully going to make just like cooler videos for this stuff because I'm just a little hyped about the topic. I feel like I'm getting more out of it.
Yeah. As you get putting out more gems there. I love it. So what this is end of the episode here. Go ahead and plug all your socials, things like that. This is your time. The floor is yours, man. Happy
Awesome.
to share the audience and everything like that. Go show some love.
So the handles are, so I deleted my IG for now. I need to just focus up right now. But the handles are Tap for Insight on TikTok, and I'm gonna be putting up videos on YouTube also, Tap for Insight. But beyond that, I'm just a TikTok guy. So follow. I got some new stuff coming focused on like New York City. And I'd love for you guys to support the content and show some love.
Awesome, man. I'll send them all your way. Any other closing thoughts you have from the episode here?
Yeah, man, just like keep doing what you're doing. Like, there's so many people that sort of like are in the same place, right? That want to be able to like voice themselves and like hype other people up and like give them info. So being able to have this platform that you have is key. So thank you for that, man.
Of course, man. All right, my guys. This has been Out to the Lines. Take care, everyone.